In 1804, one of the most famous duels in American history occurred between Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr. The result of personal attacks and politically motivated arguments, this confrontation led to the death of Hamilton and the end of Burr's political career. If anything, this piece of history should serve as a lesson. Partisan politics and irrational thinking are dangerous. Had Hamilton and Burr talked on a more personal level and more openly, I think they might have been able to avoid such a catastrophe. Instead, they chose to duel, risking both of their lives and ending Hamilton's. Of course, duels are illegal everywhere today, so there isn't the opportunity to kill anybody over personal attacks and get away with it. However, partisan politics and irrational thinking can still be detrimental to American society. Many times, congressmen will make decisions and take sides solely because of their political affiliation, which can lead to stalemates in Congress and bad decisions. As president, I should try to end conflicts and reach sensible solutions rather than fuel the arguments and further decrease the productivity of government. This was one of my favorite chapters in the book. I love the idea of two opponents, Alexander Hamilton and James Madison, coming together and working to reach a compromise by which both parties could be somewhat satisfied. While Jefferson's role in the compromise may have been overstated, I still was impressed by the manner in which the debate was settled. Hamilton got a slightly modified version of his plan for assumption of the debts, and Madison got the capital for Virginia. I think that this type of solution should serve as an inspiration for present and future politicians. For example, I wasn't able to remove the ban on openly gay people in the military. I was, however, able to get a compromise in Don't Ask, Don't Tell. While not the perfect solution for either party, it temporarily ended the debate and it opened the way for a complete removal of the ban. This was one of the most interesting chapters and certainly one of the most significant events in early American history. A debate over slavery which threatened to tear the nation apart. I can't imagine what the consequences of a continued debate would have been so early in the nation's life. Thankfully, the founding fathers and leaders of the debate had enough sense to stop pressing the issue and leave it as it was. While I support the idea of social equality, I understand the need to take small steps. Attempting to abolish slavery after nearly 2 centuries of slave labor in America would have disastrous effects on the economy of the states that most heavily rely on such labor, creating chaos and likely causing the southern states to secede from the Union. Even up to the present day, small steps have been the key to success. Martin Luther King set easily defined goals for his movement and worked patiently. His movement was one of the most successful ones in history. I learned the truth of that rule the hard way when I tried to get a health care reform bill through Congress and was met with overwhelming resistance. The changes were simply too much. In order to get any kind of social change through, you have to avoid taking tremendous leaps. Small steps are the key to success. In this chapter, Washington showed his true wisdom by gracefully stepping down from office after 2 terms, setting a precedent that would remain unbroken until Franklin D. Roosevelt's third term. He addressed the public honestly and plainly, leaving no room for misinterpretation. He was not seeking a third term, and he was retiring to Mount Vernon. In many ways, this would solidify Washington's legacy as one of the greatest presidents ever. Washington's humility would leave a lasting impression, and I think it should inspire each and every president to act with the same quality of character. Unfortunately, I can't claim to have carried myself with such dignity as Washington did. My legacy as president was marred by my poor conduct in the investigation of the Monica Lewinsky scandal. Rather than being honest and taking responsibility for my mistakes, I tried to deny my wrongdoing, causing many Americans to question my morals and, to an extent, putting a stain on the image of the president's office, opening wounds that had been healing since the Watergate scandal a little more than 20 years prior. I should have handled the whole situation much better than I did. Reading about John Adams's experiences as president, I cannot help but sympathize with him. He tried to act as a mediator and stay out of the endless muckraking and partisan politics that characterized the 1790s. Adams even managed to avert war with France thanks to smart decision-making and the advice of Elbridge Gerry and John Quincy Adams in Europe. However, Adams ended up being considered a bad president by both his former political allies and his enemies. He was caught between two massive political forces, unable to help either of them. Adams's bipartisan style of leadership was similar to my own. Instead of taking one side and stubbornly refusing to hear the other, I tried to make both sides of arguments and reach an intelligent solution. Don't ask, don't tell was one such compromise. Ultimately, I think that trying to cool the political flames rather than fuel them will help the country more and lead to a better government. In this final chapter, John Adams and Thomas Jefferson managed to set aside their political and ideological differences and resume their friendship. While this was a nice tale of two friends, this story has a deeper meaning as well. Rather than allowing political differences to create rifts between people and cause people to blindly hate one another, we should look to take each other's viewpoints into consideration and learn from each other. We should thoroughly plan out each decision the government makes to ensure that we will help the American people, rather than trying to help ourselves and our parties. On a personal level, I still have to reconcile myself to the people I've alienated. The Lewinsky scandal hurt my relationship with my family, and it is my responsibility to try and make up for my failures. This story will serve as inspiration in my completion of that task.